Tuesday of the month, so we get to catch up with Whiteside County. Heather and Dave in studio with us today. Heather, we're going to get started with you.
Yeah.
One of the topics here, pumpkin decoration or squash.
So right now is your perfect time to go pick your pumpkins. There's lots of different types of pumpkins. So first off, a gourd. You know what those are. Those are just used for decor. I would not recommend to eat those. They will not taste good. A squash, though, you can use those to decorate or to eat. A lot of people like to make that spaghetti squash. I don't cook, so I wouldn't know, but my sister says they're good. So pumpkins, you can use those for eating or for decor. Obviously, your kids like the jack-o'-lanterns and the carving, so make sure you get those for them. But for baking, if a pumpkin is small and heavy, they're going to be full of flavor, and that's your perfect pumpkin for baking. There's a Cinderella pumpkin, white pie, or mystic pie. Those are going to be the ones you want to bake with. Then, of course, your carving ones are going to be your jack-o'-lantern. This year, they've found at the pumpkin patches, they've had a lot of tiger stripes or the warty red that are going to look good on your porch as well. So another issue that you have with pumpkins are those pesky squirrels. We have a hell of a time at our house with squirrels. So I asked my dad, and he said just use coyote urine on them. Well, no kid really wants to have urine on their pumpkins. So you could always sprinkle those with red pepper flakes or just use some hot sauce on the outside or inside, and that'll keep those squirrels away as well.
Yeah, that's better than getting the use of the coyote, I guess.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that.
So smallmouth bass, what?
Yeah. As I was coming over the bridge today, I just glanced at the river and noticed all the rocks sticking out. So, that kind of relates back to the smallmouth bass. They're kind of a little jewel both in Iowa and Illinois, especially if you get into those bluffy streams with rock bottoms or sand. Smallmouth bass are a blast to catch. They're in cleaner, fresher water than largemouth mostly, although you can catch them in the river around the wing dams occasionally. But they're fairly rare. The further north you go on the Mississippi, the more you get into the smallmouth habitat. So look for rocks, riffles, and any kind of fast-moving clear stream. I fly fish them, and they're a blast on a fly rod. But you can use a small spinner on an ultralight tackle, something like that. And the way to tell the difference between a smallmouth and a largemouth is where the jaw is positioned in line with the eye. If the end of the jaw goes past the eye, normally it's a largemouth bass. If the eye is red and the jaw lines up with the eye, it's a smallmouth. I grew up as a kid catching those things, and they're my favorite fish to fish for. I mean, they'll jump, they fight. If a bluegill and a smallmouth bass weighed as much as a channel cat, you never get them into a boat. It's unbelievable how they fight.
Now, what do you use? Do you use lures or what kind of bait?
I've used flies for them. You can use a popper in the summer when they're hidden. You can use a streamer. If for spinning, just a small Mepps lure or a little crankbait works real well. Minnows. A lot of guys catch them when they're fishing for walleyes on the wing dams. They'll pick them up there too. But yeah, a minnow or a nightcrawler works real well for them too.
Yeah, I have a grandson who loves to fish, and he enjoys getting those as well. Black squirrels, I think they're always so cute, but I understand they're kind of feisty.
They can be. Yeah, they can be cute until you look at them real close up. A gray squirrel, and let's back up just a little bit. A black squirrel is just a color phase of a gray squirrel is what it is. But they're starting to increase their range around here. I don't know about Clinton, but in Morrison, there's always a colony of them on the northeast side of town. And I live north and west of town, and they're all over out there now. They're around Fulton. So something's happened genetically now that the black squirrel population has really increased. Normally, they're just a little bit smaller than gray squirrels, too. But yeah, they're nasty. They won't tolerate any other squirrel in their territory. If there's one in a tree, they will chase the other squirrel out of the tree. And it doesn't matter if it's twice the size of the black squirrel or not, they'll just go after it. But they're kind of ugly when you look at them close up.
Well, I've never gotten to one really close.
I'll have to remedy that with you, Gary.
That's all right. That's okay. I'll keep my distance. Sounds like
they're kind of a trophy as far as squirrel hunters go, but anymore they're everywhere. It's unbelievable how much. In the last 20 years, I've probably seen the population increase around Morrison and Fulton 100%, if not more.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wild turkey permits due soon.
Yes. If you're in Illinois, and I did this yesterday, and you're going to hunt turkey in the spring, the first lottery deadline is, I think it's December 1. So you got about a month and a half now to get a permit application, and it's very simple. You go online, and you can either print out a paper copy and mail it in with a check, or you can set up an account with ID&R, which I do, and just put a credit card in there and fill out the application online, and away you go. You can apply for one permit, and then after that, there's 2 other lotteries that you can apply for multiple permits, up to 3 permits. You're allowed 3 permits in Illinois. So, and it looks like it's going to be an exceptional spring season. I'm seeing tons and tons of young turkeys, which is good because the last few years the production's been really bad. But this year looks good in all over the county in Illinois, and I'm assuming it's the same way in Iowa too right now too. So,
I know you do a lot of hunting.
Yep.
Where does the wild turkey come in as far as trying to hunt them down?
they're pretty weary, although in the spring you can only take something with a beard, which is normally a male. In the fall, there is a fall season too. You can take either a hen or a jake or a gobbler, but they can be pretty weary. They lose some sense of their weariness, though, because it's breeding season, and they're kind of, they're focused on the females, and that's how you get them. And you basically sound like a hen calling, and you put a decoy out, and they come right into you.
So you have a call.
Yes.
And then the decoys.
Yep.
Okay. So do you sit there you would for like deer hunting, or do
Yeah.
you move around?
Some guys like to, it's called running and gunning. They'll sit there for the first half hour and they'll listen for the birds, and they'll go to the birds and try to get underneath them and try to call them in. Typically, I like to sit. I hunt smaller properties, and if I'm running around all over on the properties, more than likely I'm going to run into something and spook them. So I sit in the tent usually. I sit outside sometimes in a brush pile, but you have to be camouflaged, and you have to be fairly careful. If you put your gun up and they're looking at you, they will leave. They're not that stupid. But, if you stay still and you're camouflaged, you should be fine. And like I said, I sit in a tent. I wear a black sweatshirt that blends into the black background. That was tough to say on the radio. So it looks like there's just a black wall through the opening. And I wear a face mask, and that's it.
Okay.
And you just got to be careful you don't move and let them see a lot of motion.
Catching up with Whiteside County. Back to Heather now. Let's educate a child in the outdoors, and I guess fall is a great time, huh?
Fall is my favorite time of the year. So like yesterday, I took my daughter to the pumpkin patch. So there was a lot to do there. We went to Selmy's, but there's other ones. The Indian Hills Orchard is right outside of Fulton. That's a good place to go for your apples. Also Fairhaven Fruit Farm. And then for you guys over here in Clinton, we've been to Pride of the Wapsie. That's a good place. But if you don't want to go to one of those, just take your kids outside. Use old newspaper and clothes. Make a scarecrow. Go in the kitchen and bake. There's good times to bake your caramel apples or apple crisp, apple chips. Those are something kids like. Get outside and play. Fresh air, fire, make s'mores. There's a lot of stuff online to do scavenger hunts or making spider webs out of string. So there's so much you can do with your kids in the fall, and being outside with this fresh air is what's going to keep them healthy.
It always seems like my favorite season, spring and fall, appear to always be the shortest of the seasons for whatever reason. Winter's like forever.
It was
Summer,
cold this morning. I thought fall was over already.
No, it's not going to be over. And then fallen leaves. Autumn, a great time to learn about trees and with leaves, of course.
Yeah, so go outside and look at the leaves. You can take your leaves, take your pictures, and go online and see what kind of tree you have in your yard. Something with your smaller kids is just to do a leaf rubbing. That'll help them learn about trees. Some people like to use for weddings right now. A big thing I saw with leaves is it's healthier for the environment, but you just cut out your leaves to make your decor for walking down the aisle or to throw instead of rice. It's just a lot better for our environment. Also, something you can do is make a book with leaves. If you dip them in beeswax, that'll help preserve their colors, or just go for a drive. Just look at all of the trees and leaves and check it out because it's gorgeous right now.
I would imagine the colors are going to be starting here really soon.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. My best friend lives in Pennsylvania, and she sends me pictures every day of how gorgeous it is there.
Oh, okay. All right. Of course, my wife and I were thinking about going north, but rain in the forecast all weekend,
Yeah.
so that kind of may knock down some of those leaves as well.
It's coming.
Back to you, Dave. OTC deer permits available this month.
Yeah, if you firearm hunt in Illinois, all the lotteries are done as far as county permits, but you can still get them over the counter. I think, they should be for sale right now, in fact. Any place that sells hunting licenses has access to deer permits. Now, remember, in Illinois, it's county by county, so you might want to check online first just to make sure there's permits available. Normally, there are this time of year. Archery season is on full-blown going right now. There's been some deer harvested, at least in Whiteside County. I helped with a couple dragging them out and cleaning them. But gun season will start in about a month. A 3-day season to begin with, and then the end of November, first part of December, there'll be a 4-day season. So, but you can still get permits, but you can't get them through ID&R anymore. You have to go through an actual license vendor to get those now.
Any particular reason why the deer seasons are just 3 or 4 days in length, Dave?
Well, archery equipment, archery season lasts from October all the way through January, and it's gotten really, really efficient with crossbows, compound bows. The shot length is, it's gone from maybe 20 yards to 40 yards. The crossbows have scopes on them, so they're more accurate, and you can shoot to 30 or 40 yards with those too. Typically, what they're trying to do is it's for herd control, and when those shotgun seasons are going, those are, it's the end of the primary rut and the start of the secondary rut. So that's probably the most efficient time to harvest a lot of deer. And it's not so much a problem around here, but as you get closer to the suburbs, you get a lot of auto collisions. And part of the reasons for the hunting seasons now are to cut down on those auto collisions. And yeah, we have deer accidents out here too, but not at the rate they do, in southern Illinois, or especially up around the Chicago suburbs. So,
interesting.
Yep.
Final subject, invasive species of the month.
Yes, reed canary grass, one of my favorites. Reed canary grass was brought over originally to use as a pasture on wet ground, which it does. It works really well. The problem with reed canary grass, though, is from a livestock standpoint, it's kind of a sharp-edged leaf, and livestock doesn't really like it. They'll eat it if there's nothing else, but it's not the most palatable thing to feed them. The other problem with it is once it gets going, it spreads like wildfire. It spreads by rhizomes and it spreads by seed. And the problem is the seed floats, so you can eliminate all the reed canary on your place, and if you flood, you're going to have a new crop of seed coming in. Typically, it takes anywhere from 3 to 5 years to eliminate all of reed canary. The other problem that I've been noticing too with it is it's starting to adapt to upland conditions. So it's not just growing in the damp areas anymore, it's growing up on the hills now too. And it will basically dominate a plant community and wipe everything else out. I know, Heather's been working on CRP checks and that, and it's become a problem in CRP too.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah, it is everywhere, and it's terrible stuff. But you can spray it. It likes to be burned, so you can't really burn it and get rid of it. But spraying's probably the most effective. When I was doing CRP, a lot of what I would do is just flood it. If you put water on it and keep water on it constantly for several years, you can usually defeat it as long as you don't have more water coming in with seed. So that's my species of the month that you want to avoid. Do not plant reed canary. Please don't plant it. You're going to have it anyway, so that's a nasty one.
So now we have 5 Tuesdays in the month, so we're not going to see you folks for a while. It'll be Tuesday, November 14th. We certainly appreciate you coming in.
Sure, thank you.
And Heather, if people want to find out more information about the Whiteside County Soil and Water Conservation, how can they do that?
You can give us a call at 815-772-2124, extension 3, or check out our website or our Facebook page on Whiteside County Soil and Water Conservation.
All right, thank you both.
Thank you.
You're listening to AM 1340 KROS, Clinton, Iowa.
FM 105.9.
And KROSradio.com.